Drawing the hair was always something so fun, relaxing, and interesting to me, so I decided to make a video showing you how you can get a good hair drying in just a couple of hours. And this time we will do that by drawing on Strathmore tone gray paper using the Faber Castell polychromos colored pencils. This paper has a very specific texture and it is perfect for drawings with the colored pencils. So if you follow up all the tips that I will share today, you will be able to get a really good results on this paper. So this drawing is something that I did because I wanted to show you what you should be avoiding while drawing the hair. And this one is the drawing that I did in which I included all the tips that I'm going to be showing you throughout this process. So for this drawing, it took me around 45 minutes to make it, and if you add 2 more hours on focusing on getting a better one, you will get something like this. So let's get started with both of the drawings. First mistake that people usually make is leaving the sketch of the drawing too dark. While making the sketch, it needs to be accurate and proper, of course, and it needs to be seen, but before you start with the colored pencils, you need to erase the sketch as much as you can, but you need to leave the light sketch so you can still be able to see, and once you go over those light lines with the colored pencils, the line won't be seen on the finished drawing anymore. So as you can see here, I'm pressing this pencil really hard and this is not leaving me much options after I layer it heavily onto the paper. I'm trying to layer a different color on top of it, but it is really hard for the second colored pencil to layer well. If you start by not pressing your colored pencil that much, you will be able to put so many more layers on top of it, and that will leave you enough space to get the color and the shade that you want. Building the colors like this will get you so much better result than just pressing the pencil too hard and not paying attention to the rest of the colors and layers. The same thing goes with layering the colors while you're drawing the hair. If I press the colored pencil too hard right from the start, you can see how much I'm not able to layer the rest of the colored pencils. It is preventing me of getting the desired shades. But if you start layering the shades of the hair step by step and not pressing too hard, by layering the lights, mid shades and darks gradually and going backwards and forwards with them, eventually you will get the desired look of the hair and much more realistic look. So I continued layering the colored pencils and not paying attention to the details at all. I'm not paying attention to the values as well, so it's starting to look really flat and not realistic at all. Choosing the right colors and picking up more than just 2 shades will also help you get so much better results in the end. That is another tip that I wanted to share with you. Having just 2 shades of colored pencils and not layering them properly will make your hair look flat and a bit boring. As you see, I'm putting just 2 shades and it's not looking very good. Having at least 3 colored pencils will get your hair look much more realistic and so much better. Of course, you can always add so much more shades, but for this example, I wanted to show you how adding just another more can get you so much better results. By layering them slowly and gradually will not just make the hair drawing good, but anything that you want to draw so much more realistic. While drawing the hair, try to take more colors than just 2 or 3. I always like to have varieties of colors while drawing the hair because even if the hair is brown, it still has varieties of color and different shades, lights, darks, warm tones, and colder ones, so limiting yourself with just 2 or 3 tones will kind of make your drawing look flat and sterile. Even though it's barely impossible to get all the values and all of the details exactly the same as from the reference photo, and every stroke of the hair in the right place, you really need to pay as much attention as you possibly can to the details, values, and follow the reference photo so you can get a drawing similar to the reference photo that you are using. So here I'm not paying too much attention to the reference photo, and that makes it look not believable and not realistic at all. Also, it is always good to try to practice the balance between the lights, mid shades and darks. If you don't find the balance between them, you will have those really noticeable transitions between your values. Some people start from the darks and slowly getting their drawings by adding the midtones and highlights in the end. Some people like to start from the midtones and then build up the further layers by adding lights and darks, and some like to start with the lightest first. So you need to find out what works the best for you and try to practice it as much as you can, and as long as you're not pressing the pencils too hard right from the start, your technique will be successful. Another thing where people usually make mistakes is not sharpening your pencils at all. I know it can be stressful sharpening your pencils often, but it can be really useful when you have all of your pencils sharpened well, especially when it comes to drawing the hair. With the pencils that is not sharpened, you can see that I'm layering the color, but the strokes are a bit too thick, and I don't have a control over that pencil as much as I would like to. The strokes are too thick, which will prevent me of getting good details in the end. With a sharpened pencil, I'm able to control it so much more, and by slowly layering it, I'm able to get the desired look that I want. And by having the pencil sharp enough, it will make your work so much easier once you start layering the second colored pencils on top of this one. So I'm using everything I shouldn't use when it comes to drawing the hair, and you can see how this is turning out. The colors are not vibrant, there is no details, transition between the colors are not good. This simply isn't gonna look good. And I know that everyone is eager to finish the drawing fast. So as I said, for this it took me 45 minutes. I spent my time almost an hour drawing something that is not nearly as good as I want to. So we will still spend the time by getting the drawing that is not good instead of investing a couple of more hours and getting so much better one. So you can choose spending 3 hours in order to get realistic hair drawing, or to spend an hour and not being happy with the ending results. So let's start with this one. As you see, I started off by not pressing the pencils too hard at all. I was layering the midtones, and I followed the reference photo just so I can see and put the proper colors where they're supposed to be. So I left the space for the light tones and the dark as well. I sharpened all my pencils as well, so you can see that even with that textured look, it looks good, and I'm able to control the pencils so much more than having the pencils that is not sharp at all. I'm slowly building the values and slowly layering the colors, which is also very much useful too when you're first starting off with the drawing, because in this way you are able to get to know better your reference photo. It takes time to get to know and see all the details on the reference photo, so by taking the time to properly look at the reference photo, by slowly building up the layers, you will be able to get used to the idea of what your drawing should look like in the end. As much as you look at the reference, it will be much more comfortable for you to draw it as well. So the longer you look at the reference and give yourself the time to get to know it, your drawing is gonna look amazing in the end. Also, another thing that I should mention here is that if you want to follow up this hair drawing step by step, this real-time drawing tutorial will be available on my April's real-time drawing tutorial series on my Patreon page. I will upload the reference photo, the list of the colors that I'm using here, as well as the sketch of the drawing, so you will be able to draw this with me step by step. The link of my Patreon page is in the description box, so if you're interested to draw along with me, not just this drawing, but all of the other that I will be sharing there, as my real-time drawing tutorials, be free to join me there. I would be more than happy to have you there and to get to know the people who are eager to progress more when it comes to drawing. Anyways, let's get back to the drawing now. Since this is gonna be the first layer of this drawing, I'm not paying too much attention to the details at the moment. So I'm just trying to get the basic shades that I see on the reference photo. So don't rush into putting all the details right in the beginning when you're layering your first layers. We have so much more work to do in order for the drawing to look more realistic, so the most important thing is not to rush into anything and take your time by playing with the tones and the values. By using the varieties of color, as you see, we're getting the wanted results even now in the beginning, and you can see how much your drawing can look so much better in those beginning stages just by putting more than 2 or 3 colors. I always use so much more just so I would be able to get more vibrant look of the hair. Another great thing to use when it comes to drawing the hair is any kind of pencil blender. I'm using here a Zested pencil blend, but in case that you don't have any pencil blender, a really good replacement for this is baby oil, which you can basically find in any kind of store or pharmacy. So use the baby oil to blend the colored pencils, well, if you don't have anything else at the moment. With this blender, you can see how much the colors are blending with each other and mixing in such perfect way. I didn't use the pencil blender on the first one on purpose, just so I can show you the difference. You can see the obvious difference between the drawing with and without the pencil blender. The pencil blender makes your color look so much more vibrant, and it allows you to put more layers on top of it once it is dry. The results that we're getting with the pencil blend is so much better than just having the colored pencils layer one after another. Of course, sometimes it is better not to use the pencil blender. It depends on your style and the particular drawing that you want to do. But I personally love to use the pencil blend. It allows me to get the desired look that I want when it comes to drawing the hair. It really depends on what you're drawing, but when it comes to this particular paper and the hair drawing, it is always so much better having any kind of pencil blend next to you, because you can see how much of a difference that blender makes. Once you put the layers on the pencil blend or baby oil, you need to wait for 10 to 15 minutes for it to get dry in order to continue with the drawing. Just pay attention not to put too much pencil blender or too much oil on the drawing, because otherwise it will leave the stains on the paper, which will be impossible to correct after. So for the next layers, we're using the same technique as we did with our first layer. And by layering the colors properly and preserving those highlighted parts, the drawing is starting to look so much better at this stage. So as I said, it is really important to take your time when it comes to this particular kind of drawings. You can also use a couple of shades of gray instead of white. Here I'm using some light grays along with the white, just because the highlights on the reference photo are not the same in all of the highlighted parts, so using the gray colored pencil for some highlights for the brown hair is very much useful in order to get even better results. Some people don't like to use black colored pencils on their drawings, but as for me, I'm using it quite often because it is giving me the look that I want, especially when it comes to drawing the hair. Having the black a bit in every drawing gives you so much better contrast, and as for me, using the black and white in every drawing is the perfect way of getting the best possible contrast, because the contrast in the end is what makes your drawing looks more realistic. Not having the contrast will eventually make your drawing look very flat, not vibrant, and more 2D than 3D. Taking care of the highlights as I'm here and making sure to have black colored pencils where it should be makes it so much better than our first example of the hair drawing. You can see all the difference between these two drawings, and all of the tips that I share with you today made this hair look so much more better in the end and so much more realistic. So once you start off with your drawings, it is very important to have all these tips in mind, so you will be able to draw not just the hair, but basically anything that you want to draw so much better. It can be really stressful once you first start off with a colored pencil, so I believe that having all of this in mind will make your beginner's drawing so much easier. Regarding the finishing touches and those flyaway hairs, which you will see in the end of this process, I use the X-acto knife, which is very useful to have for the details, as well as the white colored pencil. Just make sure not to overdo it with the X-acto knife, and once you put all of the strokes with it, make sure to try and blend the beginning of those strokes properly in order for those details to look more believable. Anyways guys, that would be all for today's video. I truly hope you will like the ending result of this hairpiece. If you have any questions or comments, please be free to let me know them in the comments down below. I will also list all the materials that I'm using for this drawing, so you can check that out as well. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Loads of more drawing videos are coming very soon for you guys, which I'm eager and very happy to share with you. Thank you so much again, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye bye guys!